R.I.P. Tom Benson. Shout out to the whole Who That Nation. Now who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. Ooh, who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. I got that fever, my people. See, we not equal, my people. I'm like that dog saint underneath the steeple, my people. Got Drew Brees, he the feature, and our defense the sequel. The D-line and linebackers, man, they coming to reach ya. Make enemies some believers, cause we overachievers. DBs see 50-50 balls and we call them keepers. Y'all can follow this leader, cause Sean Payton will teach ya.
Hey, what's up, everybody? The NewOrleans.Football podcast presented by Daniel Sant, live from the Better Call Badeau podcast studio. I'm Nick, cover the team at NewOrleans.Football, joined by Kevin. Kevin, what's going on, man?
Oh, man, doing good. Just still coming to terms with my demotion. I had my little start, man. Saints Talk listeners was up. We back. It's another week of Saints Talk. I've just been a little my feelings, man. I'm messing with you.
No, I mean you did get a little demoted, but I mean, look, it happens, and it's just kind of how you gotta roll with it, So, it just kind of is what it is at this point, man.
It is.
But
what
anyways,
it is, man.
If you need legal help with any of the following: car wrecks, offshore injuries, 18-wheeler collisions, Maritime and Jones Act, hurricane and storms, you better call Badeau at 504-323-4777 or 985-677-1085 for your free consultation and case review. Numbers linked to the website in the show notes. And then, of course, my guy Daniel Sant, the presenting sponsor, the OG, the guy who got in before everybody else. Are you a business owner needing some guidance with your daily accounting? Daniel Sant, CPA, can help get your finances in order. They provide relevant accounting information, detailed analysis, and clear communication in a timely manner. Call today, 318-321-2765, or visit santcpa.com in the show notes as well. And then, of course, our guys, Firehouse Subs, Vets Boulevard location. Hit them up, get a sub, do what you do. Support them because they support us.
I wonder if Badeau, does he handle workplace abuse?
I mean, you can call him. You better call him, man. You better call him. Better call Badeau, man.
You better call Badeau, man. If you guys feel like you got unnecessarily demoted, any little legal thing, man, go get your help, man. All right, guys, what's up? We back. We're here to break this stuff down. Thank you guys for joining us. Live chat. I see some people. What's up, Bob? That's not me, rap, but I do have that fever. VP Saints Pales lady. So I definitely got the fever for the flavor and the flavor for the funk and everything else that's listed in the intro. So if I didn't, I wouldn't be a podcast host here. But we're here to talk about the Saints, man. Obviously, the big news coming out is that Brett Maher was released.
Look, it kind of is though. Look, you're laughing, we're making jokes. It kind of is though, because it means that Will Lutz is he's good, man. Like he's in good shape. It means that that the groin is not completely detached or whatever. Like things are in a good situation heading forward. And being without Will Lutz was a major issue last year. So having him back, I think is significant. And it's something that's needed, and that's just something that's one of those good signs. It's a residual effect of good news, and Maher did a good job. He did a good job last year. He came in, he held it down after that kicker carousel, and he did a solid job. But I mean, it's a residual effect of better news that the lesser kicker gets let go.
Yeah, we were actually kicking got so bad to the point last year, guys, that we were debating who would be a bigger guy coming back from injury, Marcus Davenport or Will Lutz. Bro, it was bad, yo. It was bad. But I was just joking, guys. That is not the biggest news, but Nick can turn anything into a story apparently. But the real news is Cody Burns has been hired as the new wide receivers coach for the New Orleans Saints. Nick, I'm just gonna let you. Like, I feel like that's a good quality to me. Like, I don't like tee this stuff up to you. I just give you the open floor. Don't hedge your bets on whatever I'm asking you to talk about.
You got to
Open
let
mic.
Kobe, man. You got to let Kobe.
You gotta let Kobe be
Yeah, just
Kobe.
let him
So
ISO. You let him ISO. Yeah.
you ain't Kobe, but do what you do. Not Kobe.
So, yeah, look, I think it's a significant position. It's not something that we're going to talk about as much as co-DCs,
Mhm.
offensive coordinator, Rizzy becoming assistant head coach, any of that stuff. Like, I think all those things are going to be more talked about. But this is a very significant
Yeah,
position, just given where the team's at. It's a revamping, I think, entirely of that whole position group. And I don't think it's an easy job by any means. I think he's coming in. There's going to be a degree of difficulty here. I mean, his star
absolutely.
player,
Man,
you got to keep
talk
Mike
about it.
happy. You got to
Talk
keep Mike
about it.
happy. And you know,
Talk
I bet Mike, like when things are rolling, like is amazing in the meeting room. He's amazing on the field, amazing in practice, and I think he can probably be a coach's asset when things are going well because he sets a tone, and I think his tone and competitive nature probably forces people to get on his level and makes everybody better. I think he's probably one of those guys that just by being around without even saying anything, he makes everybody level up. And I think that helps. But you got to make sure he's in a good spot, and he's a personality that needs to be managed. So that's going to be one major thing of Burns' job. And then two, like the development is just huge right now. They're going to be bringing in new players. They're probably going to draft somebody early at that position, and the offensive success is going to go how that position goes, and he's going to be in charge of it. He's got to teach them. I think Curtis Johnson did. I think he did a good job. A lot of players developed under him over the
Why do you
years.
think they let him go? What do you think happened there?
Look, man. I mean, I think that
I get to ask you the tough
it's a couple
questions.
things. I mean, look. I mean, the position was just somewhere where I think you could have used some new blood. Just period. Just period. And I don't even know if that's a reflection on CJ. I just think it's just something where if you said, you know, where do changes need to be made? Okay, wide receiver needs to be completely revamped. Start at the top, go down. But look, also like there's just a level of relationships and stuff. Like maybe one guy has a great relationship, great working relationship with one person, and then it's just maybe not there
That's
and
what I
doesn't
think
click
it
the
is.
same way with
Yeah, that's
somebody
my
else,
take.
and so it leads to change. And it's not necessarily anybody's fault. It's just hey, this isn't my guy or something. So you never
Yep.
know. I mean, it could be anything, but I don't know if it was performance based, but I think it just if you're gonna make a change, it makes sense. And look, I like the move to bring somebody in that has no strings attached to anything. I think it worked really well with Ryan Nielsen. You bring him in, you get new ideas. Burns can come in, coach wide receivers, and just because he's coaching wide receivers, it doesn't mean that his input's limited strictly to that. Like Scotty
Yeah.
Montgomery, we talked about a lot. They interviewed him for OC, running backs coach from Indianapolis. He's up there schooling everybody on RPOs and college offense stuff. And I
There you
think
go.
bringing somebody in, you can kind of do some of those same things. And he was an offensive coordinator. Burns was at Auburn
Exactly.
for
Auburn.
4 years, well,
Yep.
2 years, and I think passing game coordinator for 2 years or something like that, or co-OC for 2 years, whatever the configuration was. He was in that position for 4 years, so I think he has a lot of insight into a lot of things too. And Auburn runs a decent offense. I mean, I think some of their philosophies have been interesting over the years. One of the things that they did, and like this isn't really even revealing or something he's going to bring with him, but like you would see them during like the Cam Newton years, maybe a little bit after, you would see them just like run the same play over and over and over and over. And it was just straight up the whole thing. You're like, well, why? When you're
It
watching a game,
worked.
you're like, wow, they're doing that well. Don't do anything else. Auburn would just straight up do that. And, I loved it. I love seeing that. Like, it's just kind of, some of those common sense things like they did there. They aren't the shining example for offensive football. But I mean, some of those college concepts and that, like they are playing in the NFL now, having somebody that's a little bit more familiar with that's been in the SEC for a
Mhm.
while, can't hurt. So bringing
Yeah.
him in is huge. I love the hire of Doug Marrone as offensive line coach. I mean, I think that's just a
Yeah, that's your guy.
fantastic hire. I mean, he's been a good O-line coach. He's a head coach. Whenever you can get a head coach in a position coach role, I think that's great. So some of the stuff they're doing, I like. Obviously it all has to work, and that's going to be Judgment Day. all this stuff. In theory, though, a lot of it's it's all defensible. It all lines up. It's just, how does it actually all work out and play? But yeah, starting with
Yeah.
Burns, I think he's in a very important role,
Yeah.
and it's not going to get talked about as much as the other ones, but I think it's hugely important that they get this hire right.
So, man, you brought up something, and like totally wasn't even planning on going there, but you brought up Mike and how he can be a personality to coach at times. Obviously, if he's getting the ball, he's probably not going to be a problem. Like I think, I think when you look at the wide receiver core, well, I'll just put it like this: why does Mike get a pass for that stuff? Like, is it because he's
Get
like
a pass
so
for what?
good? Like, because Mike, it's kind of like Mike is a vet at this point. Like, he should be kind of like leading that room, right? He should he should be the Cam Jordan of the wide receivers, right? You could look at it in some ways like that. Do you think that's just not in his personality, or it's like it seems like that's a role he should be filling, right? He should be like the leader of that room, like a quasi coach, like Demario Davis, right? I mean, and I don't expect Demario Davis is the upper tier of NFL leadership. Is about as good as you're going to get, and you can probably say the same thing about Cam. But for Mike, it just seems like at some point we have to stop worrying about, oh, is Mike happy? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, well, Mike got to be happy because if he's going to ask for a trade. Is Mike going to be happy with a quarterback and we've spoken about that. Mike can catch the ball no matter who's throwing it. That's on film, right? That's not even me giving an opinion about it, which I do have some opinions. But yeah, it just seems like that has to stop. Like the micromanaging of the Mike relationship, like either he's here or he's not, right? Because I think at some point it's just, it just becomes like it's a little fatigue associated with that.
I think some guys play by their own rules, really, man, and you just kind of gotta do what you got to do, and you make use of it. And I'm not just talking about Mike specifically. I mean, I just think like everybody in general. Certain guys just are who they are. Some things aren't in their DNA, and you deal with it and you manage with it as long as it's worth dealing with it and managing it. And once the talent no longer suits the personality, that's when you start making decisions. Like, if you got if you got Lawrence Taylor and he wants to, you know,
Roll
play
some
with
up.
his nose like during the middle of a meeting or whatever, like you just do it because he's going to go out and get his sacks. And I mean, you deal with that and you let him do what he does. And look, Belichick knew that stuff was going on when he was the
Hey,
DC.
LT, wait. All right, you good. Go.
Bill's talked about that, man. Just kind of like how you just kind of let a guy like that do what he does, and if he's handling business, it just is what it is, and you got to coach him differently. And some guys are just worth the the bending or
Like the cost of business
the
is what
compensating. Yeah, it's the cost of
yeah.
doing business with certain guys. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. And hopefully Mike mature. Look, we haven't seen or heard from Mike really in 2 years. I mean,
Mhm.
he's 2 years ago wasn't good. Hopefully he comes back, he grows from this, he learns, he approaches things differently, and you see a player that does things a little bit differently than he had before, as far as interacting with the teammates, not walking across the field and punching anybody, hopefully all that stuff ends. But
Good
look, if you're
start.
going to deal with it with one guy, there's a few guys on the team that could get away with something like that. And Mike didn't even get away with it. He got suspended by Peyton, and so it wasn't like he got a pass for it. But there's a few guys that could do that and remain on the roster. He's one of them. Alvin's another one. I'm not going to go through the list of value, but I mean, there's certain guys that can do that and guys that can't. He's one of them. And again, hopefully he comes back and he takes on that. All right, I'm the OG of this group now, and I
Mhm.
got to lead. I got to set the tone. This room needs me. This position was horrible last year. Um,
Hoodoo.
yeah, things got to change, and I'm going to be the guy. And we got this young 33-year-old coach. I'm going to have his back, and I'm going to help him, and we're going to do this, and things are going to be different. Hopefully that's how he comes back, and we'll see. I mean, look, he never had to really be in a leadership role before, and nobody really did. It was Breeze. Breeze was the guy. If Breeze is gone, if Tron's gone, there's a
Oh
void
god.
there, and I don't know if he's going to be the guy to fill it. I'm not sure who it is. I mean, I look around, I don't really,
That
Ingram
was my
maybe.
next thing. Who's the leader on the offensive side of the ball if Teron is not there?
It'd probably
Who?
be Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram would probably be the guy that kind of
Yeah.
everybody feeds off of. Whoever the
Mm,
quarterback is would be another one.
yeah, it's fair. Mark is one of those guys. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just and look, and I want to preface
I
it
mean, there's
like
really not
Mike.
a lot. There's not a lot of guys on that side though that are really going to be. I mean, it's going to
Absolutely.
have to emerge from somewhere. That's going to be something that's going to be important this year.
And when you look at the defense, it's all over. you know,
Everybody's a leader. Yeah.
everybody's a leader over there.
That's
So
success though, man. When guys are successful, and when guys are successful, we like on the outside like to talk about people, as if they are leaders, and then it's just on the inside. Like sometimes
but
you hear
see,
that these guys that we view as being in these positions aren't even in those positions, and sometimes it's Khalif Barnes given the speech that everybody's listening to. So sometimes it's guys in weird places too.
but see, I think part of it is the leadership creates the success. Like maybe not for one player, but like for the group at times, right? And I know we spoke about that. Like the defense, like like there may be some. I don't know. I don't know. The Saints probably got one of the most talented defenses in the NFL, if not the most. But when you look at them, like I think they're bigger than the collection of their parts, right? As far as like talent, like it's more. Like you can't just add them up and say this is how talented they are, because I think the leadership takes it a step above. And so, and I'm not calling out Mike. I'm not saying Mike is a bad teammate. I'm not saying because I just don't know, right? I just, based on, but it just seems like there's this, and maybe it's unfair to Mike, maybe it's not, right? I want to give him a fair shot, but just based on reporting and some things and even some public stuff, it's just like, you just kind of want to you want to know if a player's like, locked in or not, right? And like when he's on the field, Mike is locked in, right? We know that Mike is a competitor. I'll never take that from him. But yeah, I think just the whole like, is he going to want to be traded? Like even now, when people talk about Mike, it's like, man, is he going to be happy with the quarterback? And it's like, man, you're on the contract. But you're going, you're here. You're a Saint. They restructured your contract. It doesn't make sense to trade you for them. Then they won't get the value that they probably think they deserve for it anyway. So Mike is here. You're not going to trade Mike Thomas, right? And so it's just like, it would be cool if it was like, oh, we got to make sure Mike is happy. It's like, well, Mike is a Saint. He's under contract for another 2 or 3 years, so he got no choice but to be a Saint. I think that should be how it is. But you're right. Special players get special attention, and
Yeah, I mean that stuff's easy to say though, right? I mean, like,
what is the special players get, or what my first point?
yeah,
What's
just
easy?
just dude's under contract. He's got to buy in. Like it's the same thing. Like people were saying about the co-defensive coordinator idea. Well, they're on there, so where are they going to go? Well, you want people bought in and at their best. And when people aren't bought in and they aren't happy in the workplace, any workplace, you got a disgruntled employee in the workplace. You aren't going to get great work product out of them. And
So let me give you a counter on that one. So the defensive coordinator. And I that's one of the things I said to you in private. I'll admit that. And I was like, well, why can't they just, whatever? And I get it, right? I think I think it's a fair point, right? I mean, but I think it's understandable for them because they are looking to, elevate their careers in a way, and going from a position coach to a defensive coordinator is a way to do that. With Mike, ain't no what do you want? You're number one wide receiver. You were the highest paid wide receiver. You're gonna get all the targets. Like, there's no promotion, there's nothing there other than like, what do you want? More money? You want 2 more million a year so you could be the highest paid wide receiver after, I'm pretty sure, the kid from Green Bay will pass him. But yeah, I just think it's something it would be good if that talking point just died, right? And I think that's just kind of my point with the whole Mike thing. It's just I'm a little fatigued and I guess it kind of got that to that point with Sean too. It's like, man, if you're gonna leave, bro. It's like at some point, it just becomes like a little fatigue there. And so if he's,
yeah, but here's what I would say: like Dorby is last year.
yeah,
Dude's
I
not
mean,
bought in. Dude's not playing. He's not part of your system. You're in worse shape. Like they almost need him more than he needs them at this point. And I mean, I do think
absolutely,
I think they
absolutely.
both need each other to some degree.
Oh,
Even if
kind of, but
there
yeah.
is, I mean, if there's going to be a parting of ways, they need it. They need the, it's one of those things like, hey, let's stay together until the kids are out of the house, like type of deal. You know what I mean? And then we'll go our own ways because it's beneficial for everybody and that makes things easier. But I mean, Look, I mean, in theory, I agree with you 100%. It's okay. Like, you don't like it, buy in. Nothing. Nobody's bigger than this or that. And I mean, that's how we like to talk about things. And I'm not
But
saying it's
this
the way
team,
it
though,
should be, but the way it is, you don't got a quarterback, you don't have any wide receivers. Your running back's going to be suspended most likely for a good amount of games to start the season. If you don't have Mike Thomas ain't bought in. Like, you're in significant trouble. Like, you're already underwater, and there's no way out at that point. So, I mean, but also, again, like, if you gotta make things comfortable for him,
that's
however,
okay. That's okay.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
there's
okay.
there needs to be a limit to it, absolutely 100%. And look, they hit a limit where it went too far, and then,
Well, he
he
got to
got he
fight.
got
Yeah, yeah,
suspended, and then
yeah.
these the stories that get written about, "Oh, if he doesn't shape up, he's gonna get traded." I mean, that stuff all comes from somewhere. I mean, so,
There you go.
messages were sent, he was suspended. Did he get the message? I mean, you'll find out. I mean, there were efforts taken, though, to kind of put it in check. Hey, this has gotten too out of control. It's got to get fixed.
Mhm.
You gotta chill out. But look, man, I think he takes care of himself. If he gets on the field, he's making plays. You didn't hear any of this stuff
I'll
when
never
things.
question Mike on the field. That would be the most unfair, and I'm not saying he's a bad influence off the field neither. I just wanna make sure my message isn't getting I don't wanna hear like, oh, Saints talk saying Mike Thomas is a bad off the field player. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying like I just wanna know that the buy-in is there, right? Because we know how good the buy-in.
All I've heard is that he's bought him, man. I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
fine. And like I said, I think he becomes, without trying, without the traits even, like, I think he becomes a good leader just because when
He's
things are
great.
going well. I think Mike is working harder than anybody else. I think he's studying more film than anybody else. I know he's playing harder than anybody else. He's trying more in practice than anybody else.
Oh,
So
he's a psycho.
when
Yeah,
things are
he's a
going
psycho.
well, he's setting a tone that
Yep.
just everybody has to meet, or you fall short because you're going to look bad up against it if you aren't trying as hard as him. And you can look at anything anybody does in the world. When somebody's working harder than everybody else looks bad. And
Yeah.
that's just the way it is. And I think he sets that tone.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Mike on the field probably gives you can make I don't know if there's a player on the Saints team that gives more than Mike on the field. Like you could see his competitiveness. Like
Trey
it
Hendricks was the only other
yeah, well, he
guy.
just stealing sacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just stealing sacks. Oh, bro. Oh, you flushed him out the pocket? Let me finish that for you. I got you.
Oh
I
yeah.
got you. I got you.
Someone falls off the
So,
plate, he's eating. But look,
yeah,
we
yeah.
can't even joke about Trey anymore. Like, Trey,
So Trey
man,
did his thing, man. Trey did
yeah,
his thing.
everybody was wrong about Trey, man.
Yeah, yeah. Trey did his thing. I still wouldn't have, but regardless, yeah. And so, but yeah, I mean, again, it's this is definitely like I'm definitely like a fan of Mike, and I think Mike has been as good as you can ask a wide receiver to be. But and I don't even know, maybe it's just not him. Maybe it is. I don't know, but that talking point, I think it just because we see what the cohesion does on the defensive side of the ball. Like when guys playing for each other, it just there's a level that you can't that you hit, and it would talking about offensive leaders, if you may lose to run, you just lost your quarterback. Say what you want to say, but Jameis was a leader. If you start losing some of these guys and these gaps got to get filled. Remember what happened when they lost their leaders on defense and the Junior Gillettes of the world became the captains, and then the culture had to change. So, but yeah, but that we'll pay attention to that. But just Cody Burns, just my take on that is, hey, I respect the fact that they just went out the house and got some new talent from somewhere. I think it's cool to Sean had his best success. You could say Hodges, he went out the building and maybe got him. He went and got the linebacker coach Nolan. It maybe no ties to him. Same thing with Nielsen. He did the same thing with Chris Richard, et cetera. So I think when you have an open process, things tend to
You notice
benefit.
all the guys that came from the outside were on defense?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so I'm glad you said, which makes me say like I can understand the people who said that they think we may need some new
Well,
juice on the and that's I'm not saying that I agree with them or disagree with them. I'm saying I think if someone says, yeah, I think it would be good to try something different, I think that's a fair train of
well,
thought.
well,
Not
no, I
that
mean, it isn't unless you have a reason for saying why. why it's better. But if you're just saying I want something different because I want something different, and you can't explain why, like I can't even have that conversation because like it's just there's no basis to it. There's no meat to it. It's just a statement without supporting argument. You got to have a supporting argument for that. Like if you think Pete Carmichael shouldn't be the offensive coordinator, I can listen to that. I can hear an argument for it, but you got to tell me why. You got to tell me why you think the offense is broken, and you got to tell me who's going to do it better and how they're going to do it better. And if you can't answer those questions, change for the sake of change is not a good thing. But if you can answer those questions and there are valid reasons for each one, and you can lay them out, and there's a thought process, I'm with it. But like, just do something different to do something different with an offense that's been top 10 for 15 years outside of the last two. In the last two, Drew Brees' arm, he was throwing with a fishing line as an arm, and last year was a disaster of injuries and roster management, and I don't think that was due to the system. So I mean, you got to have something for me to chew on if you're gonna say change it just to change it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the case with every argument, right? If you're gonna make a point, then it's got to be like a
Right.
valid
But I don't think a
case
lot of
that you're
people had
making.
about like I started challenging that take on Twitter like this week, and like people were just like, well, it was bad last year. Well, yeah, obviously, but like
Sean Payton was the coach.
yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
that's Sean
matter.
Payton.
Yeah,
That's not Pete. Yeah, that's not.
right.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say it. I'm indifferent on it, man. I keep saying I'm indifferent, but I think people that like you said, if you look and say, hey, man, I think we need some new blood. Pete kind of maybe didn't want the role, and now he wants it a week later. I think that's a fair train of thought, whether I agree with it or disagree, or regardless how I feel with it. I think it's okay to feel that way. But he's the OC now, so it don't matter. Water under the bridge. So man, just what do you? I think teams can start franchising players, and I was just thinking, like, man, Marcus Williams, right? That is, I think if you had to rank him in Tehran, I would. I think Tehran's a better player. I think Tehran is a better player than 99 or maybe 97, 98% of people on the Saints team, and they have a very talented team. He's that good, but the age and the injuries, right? So I don't understand if people say, Marcus is a higher priority. I will probably agree with it definitely, because I don't think you can let that young talent out the window. But, they franchise tagged him last year. The cost of that tag was like $3.5 million. And,
It was more than that.
no, I looked it up. It was $3.5 million.
Well, because no, the franchise tag is like it's the average of the top 5 safety salaries, so it was significantly more than that.
Oh, okay. I must have got some. I'll look it up. But Jamal Williams is making 17.5. Harrison Smith was making 16. Justin Simmons is at 15.2, and then Buda Baker is at 14.7. So if you give Marcus Williams a franchise tag, it has to be 120% of what his last year's salary was, right? And so I'll validate the 13.5 franchise tag. I
You
thought
said
that was
13.5. I thought you said 3.5.
no, I said 13.5.
Oh, I thought you said 3.5. Okay, yeah, okay,
Yeah, 13.5.
yeah. All right.
13,544,000. Probably a few million and thousands more than me. But if you franchise tag him this year, it'll be 16.2, right? So that price jumps, almost 3 million. So like, what do you do with Marcus? If like, do you think it's a chance that they franchise tag him again, given his salary jumps almost 3 million? The salary jump, they're in a better position this year. If they franchise tagged them last year, theoretically they could do it again this year. So like, what do you think happens there, right? Because I think if I'm the Saints GM, that is probably the first move that I make is re-signing him, and I would understand re-signing Tehran too. I ranked him as the best player on the team last year. He didn't do anything to change that other than not stay healthy. But yeah, Marcus Williams.
Are you sure it wasn't like 10 and 13.5 this year, 10.5 last year, and then 13.5 this year?
I'll look it up while you.
I think that might
I'll
be
look
it.
it up. All right.
It's tough, man. I don't know if they're going to tag anybody. Honestly, I don't think that it's something that's going to make sense. Look, if they want to keep Marcus Williams, they need to find a way to sign him to a longer term deal. 13.5 is a lot of money, and
Oh,
Look, if
okay.
they
So
had to do it,
let me correct myself. You're right. It was 10-6, and if they tag him again, it'll be 12-9. So you go up basically, a couple of million, a little bit over 2 million if you tag him again.
okay.
So
I think
you're
it might be
right.
13.5, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Either way,
Ballpark
yeah, either
figures. Yeah,
way,
yeah.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
But
more than me.
yeah, so I don't know. I don't think you tag Tehran. I don't think that makes sense. I think you try to offer him a
I
deal,
read
he
somewhere
accepts
that they
it or
can't
he
tag
doesn't.
him. I read somewhere
Yeah,
that they can't
with the
tag him.
voids and all that too. Yeah, I mean it gets
Yeah.
complicated. So yeah, he might not even be eligible.
Mhm.
With Marcus, I mean I could see it again if everything falls apart because they did it last year, and that tells me it's an extreme priority. And I don't think this team ever is going to make a decision over $3-4 million. They'll find a way to create $3 or $4 million.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
So I mean, if it comes down to it, I think he's going to be that much of a priority again. I don't see why that would change significantly. And look, I don't think you want to go into the draft with a hole at
Woo!
that
Talk about it, bro.
position anyhow, because you want to be open to be able to address every position that you got to address, and you don't want to be forced into drafting a safety,
Yep.
and now your offense sacrifices again. So I think it makes a lot of sense to sign him to, the long-term deal, figure out the money, make it work. Number would be low this year, and you figure out next year, just like they always do, and then figure
The
out year
old
3 and
the
year
old
3.
Saints, right? Yeah, just the
Yeah,
old the old can. Just keep
just yeah, just
kicking it.
figure it out. Just figure it out when you got to. And
That's funny.
look, just a quick aside, like I become like the face of the Saints work the cap the right way. Like my whole crusade on that isn't even trying to say that like the way they do it is the best way. Like I don't think it's the best way, but it's a way to do it, and it's not nearly as bad as other people make it.
But
And
we
it's just
just saw a team win a Super Bowl doing it their way. I don't
right.
wanna hear nothing else about the right or the wrong way to do something, man. Everyone was saying the Rams are crazy for trading all these picks, and you know what they did? They went and traded more picks for Von Miller,
Yeah, and then they won the Super Bowl.
and then they
Absolutely.
won
Yeah,
the
no.
Super Bowl. So don't
No,
talk to me
it could
about
it can
yeah,
work if you want it to work. I'm not like making the argument that this is the ideal way to do it. It's not. It's
yeah.
not the ideal way to do it. This is, having a balanced checkbook and a good credit score and all that stuff without worry is always going to be a better way to do it. But look, if you can have money and you can keep your credit score up and you have all the stuff you need, and then you have even more, if you're going to Jacob to get the chain and the watch and your money's
That's
still
easy to
fine, your
make
credit
it.
score is still fine,
That's
whatever. If
easy
that's
to
how
make
you
it.
want to live and you can make it work, go ahead. But um, it just
Hey,
kind of
listen,
is what it is.
hey, listen, let me tell you what. I understand the Saints flight because I was broke for years. Worst credit score in human history. Nobody
But their
was
credit
worse.
score ain't even that bad, really. Like it don't hold them back. They're still getting, they still got the house and they got the car and they
I
got
mean, but
the refrigerator.
they putting the bills in their kids' name. The kids would become fifth grade with bad credit. Like,
I mean, I don't even really think it's like that though. I mean, like they got
you
everything
know.
they want and more. Like that's
Hey,
kind of the crazy thing.
hey, hey, Bob nailed it.
Kind
Hey,
of to a
listen,
degree, but
man, that place is evil, man. Stay away from payday. Unless they want to sponsor us, then they cool. But like, but
no, we
yeah,
would
and
never
this,
do. We would never, ever, ever, ever do a payday loan ad.
yeah,
Never.
no, it's a we can't go that low. That place has had my parent under lockdown for years, but hope the CEO is not in here. But yeah, I'm just joking though. But about Marcus, so Jamal Adams at 17.5, Harrison Smith at 16, Justin Simmons at 15.2, Buda Baker at 14.7. So where would you slot Marcus Williams into those?
It's probably going to be 15, 16 million.
So you don't think he comes in as the highest? I would bring him in at like 16.3.
I mean,
Not this.
He's going to shoot for it. And look, if he hits the market, he'd probably get it. So, I mean,
Yeah, but you could
it
franchise tag him again and
look,
say, hey, you want to?
here's the thing. Like they can sign him as the highest paid safety, and then the way they structure the contract,
Yeah,
and
I
they
know
put
the
all the
same.
money in year 2, and then push year 2. In year 2, someone's going to exceed it, so they aren't even really paying. I guess what I'm trying to say is like if somebody exceeds it, like they're paying below market value because the money's actually going to start a year from now, and then you push it ahead. Does that make sense? Like you're kind of getting him at a
I
price
get what you're
now.
saying. I get what you're
Someone
saying.
exceeds it, so it's like kind of like you're deflating in a sense because you're setting the market and then someone's going to exceed it, but you aren't actually paying the money now, and then the money's exists later and it gets pushed ahead. It is kind of a weird way to do business
I
because
mean,
like
yeah,
they're never actually paying that value in the first year, and the way they kind of do it sets up that way. I guess the money catches up in the back end, but
yeah. I'm gonna say
at
it's
that point
coming.
he's out of the he's
Just extend them again.
yeah, right.
You're the Saints.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. I think. Listen, I think the Jamal Adams contract is ridiculous. I thought the Jamal Adams trade was ridiculous. And I kind of look at that like the Laramie Tunsil contract. Like that's the outlier, right? But I do think, listen, I mean, I would bring him in above Harrison Smith. I'll say, hey man, look, I'm bringing you in and whatever they offered him last year, I'm pretty sure this will be more, or else, man, look, we can afford to franchise tag you again. We did it last year. We had worse financials, right? And that sucks, right? Because you got to hardball them into like taking, $1 million less a year or whatever. But I mean, that's negotiation. When I got my new job, I tried to milk them for everything that they would be milked for, and then they tried to keep it low as possible. And that's just the name of the game. It's not personal. We have a working relationship now after the fact, right? And so, but yeah, I do think, like I said, coming in a little bit above Harrison Smith, 16-2. I think that's a fair place to prove 16-5. I think once you get close to 17, you're starting to pay defensive linemen and safeties. I believe in safeties. I believe in the position, but at some point you got to stop the valuation there. So, but yeah, just something I thought about, man. I know Marcus is coming up. I think he's the biggest. He will be my offseason priority number one, is extending him and keeping him, because you drafted him in the early second round. You developed him, and he is as good as you want a safety to be, and you just do not want that type of young talent walking out the building. It's just, I think
People are gonna miss him if he leaves, man. They
it's
don't
bad.
realize it. People are
Yeah,
gonna miss him if he
man.
leaves.
I mean, what's that game where he was just saving touchdowns, just knocking up? Was the Eagles? I think it was
Every
Philly.
game?
Yeah, I know,
Every
but the
game?
Philly game was like, it was just like, bro, like, are you just, what got into you? Like, is the contract on the table right now? Right? It's like, but yeah, you're right. Every game there's no weakness in this game at this point, right? You can't even say the tackling stuff anymore. And, no busted coverages. He's just good, man. They gotta find a way to keep him. But so last topic. Yeah, let's do it. We got time. So I'm gonna give you 5 names / situations, and I want you to tell me. Hey guys, by the way, Nick has no idea what I'm about to ask him. You can tell by the look on his face when he kind of like that. And so,
No, I'm ready.
you are, of course, you are. But yeah, and so, yeah, just tell me like if you had to bet on like the rank of these happening, and it's the quarterback position, right? So I got Jimmy G, Teddy, Flamus, another vet, or rookie. So let me say it again: Jimmy G, Teddy.
I'll go Teddy, Jameis, another vet, rookie, Jimmy G.
So Teddy, Jameis, another vet, rookie. Oh, okay, so right in the order I said it, except Jimmy G goes from first to last. All right, so talk about why you think that Teddy is.
Just guessing. Look, I don't think he's going to cost as much as he's cost in the past. He's not coming off an injury, and I just wouldn't be surprised if the current regime kind of feels that way. I mean, it's just kind of just guessing here. I'm just a gut feeling, just a thought process. I think Jameis will obviously be a high priority, and I probably would go. I would probably personally, you asked me to guess what I think will happen, not what I think should happen. I personally would take James before Teddy. I mean, it's just no disrespect to Teddy. I just think that there's significantly more upside. I'd like to see what he can do with better people around him and all that in this offense. I'm just guessing though. Like you're talking about a defensive coach. I think it's unfair to hold Jameis to the things that happened in his past, but I think it's if you're
Wait, you think it's unfair to hold him? What you mean in this past, like the crabs or?
no the if you're talking about the interceptions and all that, I think it's unfair, like to kind of hold him to that the 30 interceptions and all that reputation and all that stuff. I think it's unfair to put that on him at this point. I think you should kind of judge him off of more last year and what he can be in this offense.
He put it on film though. I mean, he been throwing interceptions his whole career before he got to the Saints. It wasn't just like
Yeah, but I mean, it was never 30, man. Like, I don't think it's like a walking turnover machine. I think what we saw probably last year was a guy that was like a 15 interception a season guy, got into a better offensive system, and you saw a progression from that. I do think the one thing he needs to do if he does come back here, I think there was a timidness to how he played at times and a fear of mistakes, and I think you have to get on the other side of that. And if you can get on the other side of that and marry it with a comfort level, I think that he could be really, really, really good. And there's way more upside there. But, I do think that there is a progression there that needs to happen. But, I wonder, I'm just guessing, I put Teddy first just simply on the fact that if you are a defensive minded coaching staff and there's a risk aversion, fair or not, if you're going between the two guys that are familiar, and I say this knowing that Jameis threw way less the interception rate was amazing last year. But I still think, I do wonder if there's kind of like a higher comfort level with Teddy. And,
Jameis had some
we'll see.
YOLOs though. He had some YOLOs that could have been interceptions that time though.
Everybody
But
does. I mean,
I know, but he had some really extreme YOLOs. Like I was at the Patriots game where he just threw it up. But yeah, let me stop before I get Jameis Hive on my back because man, I know I'm about to get it. But I mean, with the third interception year, I mean, listen, I think I'm not saying 30, but it's like 20. I mean, he had a bunch of fumbles that year too. People forget that, and I just think,
yeah. I mean, I don't think he could be a 20 interception guy though. I just
I'm
don't.
not
I don't
sold
think that's,
on him.
I don't think that's possible. I think like the worst he would probably do is like 15 to 18.
I think because the coach will stop him though, right? Like it's not like he's just let me stop throwing intercept. Like
I don't see it. And not in this system. Like he could go to Pittsburgh, and I don't know what would happen in Pittsburgh. I'm saying here with the way they play, like I don't see that as a possibility. I just don't. I could be wrong.
Okay.
Look, he could
No,
come back
okay.
and do it.
Yeah, I mean it's who knows, right? Yeah, who knows? But I guess you're saying in this system, yeah. But you put him back, I think if you put him back in like an Arians type system, I think it's just.
I mean, that's anybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not Brady, but
I mean, they're saying Brady retired to get away from Bruce, so
he won a Super Bowl with Bruce too. But yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's interesting. So, excuse me. So if you've said to me many times that you don't want to waste this defense, and I agree with you. You're 100% right. Do you think that if Teddy's your quarterback for this year, that you kind of have it's a case where you having another wasted year of like a defense that's talented? That's kind of unfair, but it's just like, it's kind of a real question though. Like
no, because I think you can still win. I think you win with Teddy. I think you win with him.
Win what? No, win what though? What do you mean? Like define win. Like what can you win?
You get into the playoffs. I mean, look, I don't know if they find a quarterback that I don't know if they get a quarterback this offseason where you say they're winning a Super Bowl with him.
That's fair.
So, I mean, look, if that does happen, if you get Russ and all this, that's a different conversation. But I mean, guys that you're just going out and signing, drafting, there isn't one where you're saying, oh man, they got Mitch Trubisky, they're winning the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like that isn't going to be the thought process for anybody. They're going to get a quarterback and you're going to look at him and you're going to be like, all right, well, like this guy won't cost them games and they can win a couple because of him. Jameis is the one out of all of them that has the most upside, obviously. And if you want one of these guys to elevate into a win because guy, he's the only one that has that upside, I think. I think with Teddy in this system, I don't think look, and we're speaking about the system and you talk about the system.
We don't know.
4 years. I don't know what Pete's system really. I don't know the effectiveness of it. I know this system with Sean running it. I know what the effectiveness of that is. I don't know what it is with Pete yet. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, is he going to be able to get into Jameis's ear the same way on the sideline and kind of put the fear of God in him the same way? Like, those are all things that we got to see that we don't have the answers to yet. So. There's an assumption here of things staying the same, but they might not stay the same. So, I mean, these are all things we don't know yet. But, I mean, Jameis has the most upside. I think that Teddy in this system isn't Teddy in Carolina, Teddy in Denver. It's a little bit different. There were some bad games.
This is 4th team in 4 years, though. I mean, you're dealing with
he is what
he's
he
a
is. Yeah.
journeyman. He's a journeyman quarterback at this point, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
no knock
He's
on
like a
Teddy.
Brian Hoyer, Ryan Fitzpatrick
Yeah,
type of
he's
player at
just a
this point. Yeah,
get
yeah,
in where you fit in type of guy. Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean,
I do think that there's a certain, I do think that the best version of Teddy's probably here.
fair. Yes.
But
Yes.
again,
And I think
if I'm signing Jameis. I'm not even
yeah, I
looking
feel
at any
you. I
of the
feel
other
you.
guy. I'm going to
And
Jameis.
I know they view Teddy as like after
They love
Drew.
Teddy.
He was after Drew as far as leadership. It was Teddy. I mean, Drew then Teddy, right? And then
Well, what I've heard
Jameis.
about Teddy that they loved about Teddy is that Teddy just went and did Teddy. Teddy
He
didn't
do
go
his
out there
own
and try to
thing.
be
Yeah.
Drew. He went in there. He would specifically do things differently than Drew.
Mhm.
I heard about one play that he went in there and he did it, and he came to the sideline and they said, "Well, Drew always did this," and he said, "Well, Drew ain't your quarterback." And like those are the things that they loved about him. And the Taysom and everybody else, like they try to do Drew more. And I understand it. Look, you're trying to, like, this guy's he's one of the best ever. Like, I get it. But one of the things I liked about Teddy is that Teddy just Teddied. And I think that but look, the things that were appealing to, you know, maybe DA doesn't see it the same way. Like we don't really have like a pattern of thought yet on DA and what they do with him, or Pete's offense, what they do with that. So I mean, assumptions that are being made might not be the same anymore. So
Well,
I
I know
mean,
this.
it'll be
I know
interesting.
Teddy's the quarterback because if they like Teddy because Teddy just gonna do Teddy, DA did a whole press conference about being me and not being. So we
Yeah, I don't know. That's how it's going to be thought out though. But
in
yeah, I
this
mean, look, we'll
in
see.
this
We'll see.
conversation right now. Where would you put if you had to put Gardner Minshew on there? Would you put him before or after Jimmy G?
Probably after. Probably after.
Okay.
I'm
All
not
right.
as low on Jimmy as I think
Me neither,
Twitter
man. Me
Twitter
neither.
is.
I mean, the
They
guy
act
had
like
a
he's the worst quarterback of all time. I
he
don't
didn't
think
have a
that's the case.
hand. Yeah, he didn't have a finger this year. Now I don't think he's great. I think he's
Nope.
middle of the pack at best, but I don't think
Yeah.
he's like as bad as they make him seem. If he's
No, they act like he's like he should be playing in the XFL or something. It's just like, calm down, man.
would
Like
you
it ain't
prefer?
that bad.
Who would you prefer out of Teddy and Jimmy G? Equal compensation, equal price, no
Man,
strings attached. I'll choose Jimmy G. To be honest with you, over
he was
Teddy.
in the NFC Championship game. Like,
Twice.
I know it's not because of him, and some of it's in spite of him. But like, there's at least evidence that you can get there with him on your
Yes,
team, and whatever drawbacks he has, you can overcome them with a good running game and a good defense.
bro. He
The
got to the
Saints,
Jimmy G has played in a Super Bowl.
yeah,
Bro,
the Saints have the defense. I don't know if they got the running game yet, but if they can
they ain't
figure
got
that
the running
out,
game, yeah. But San Francisco ain't got a Mike Thomas, and they ain't got the same O line. That I'm with you, man. I would choose Jimmy
Saints
G
ain't
over
got a
Teddy.
Devo, but
Yeah, that's true. Ain't nobody got a Devo though. That dude. Well, they got an AK, but he's kind of like a little different. Well, I don't know. Do they have an AK?
yeah, for
Spoke too
some
soon.
amount
My
of
bad.
time, we'll see.
Is that too soon? Is it too soon for AK
No, I
jokes?
mean, look, we'll find out. Like he's
Yeah,
probably gonna
maybe
miss some
so,
games. I
man.
mean,
Yeah. Oh man,
and the
we should.
Vegas PD seems like they're going after that hard, which yeah.
I know, and they let everything slide in Vegas, so it must be something personal
I
because
mean,
you
yeah,
go
they
to
didn't even
Vegas.
investigate the Tupac murder, so.
Yeah, bro, don't come on, man. Come on, come on, don't turn us
But
into that type of pod, bro.
I mean, look, I
Um,
think it's it gets I don't think it goes like full extent or anything like that. I mean, there's gonna be he'll be fine, but I mean, they like it just doesn't seem like they aren't gonna forget about it. Is what I'm saying.
yeah, definitely. Man, you know what? We should do a pod where we go and watch if we can find some like Malik Willis tape. I saw a little bit on him, and I'm like, ooh, I kind of
No, he's
like it.
good.
I kind of like what I saw.
I like
So
Pickett better, but I mean, yeah, he's solid.
yeah, they different. Yeah, those two totally different I think Pickett is like ready. You start probably Pickett like you don't even need to bring in a vet, right? Or maybe just a good vet backup. Bring old Blake Bortles in there or somebody, or maybe even Teddy. But Malik, you might want to have like a Jimmy G or somebody to come in alongside of him. But yeah, he's got some tools, man. We should watch one of these guys. I know people have been asking me about quarterbacks. I'm like, man, just ask me after the combine because. But we'll see. So I'm sorry, after free agency, because if they sign a quarterback in free agency, I don't want to spend all my time watching guys they're not going to draft. So, all right, guys. Well, that's it for us. Thank you guys for joining. Shout out to chat. I think I read every chat message today. So we appreciate you guys showing up. Shout out to our sponsors. We appreciate you guys. Man, what else we got? That's it, man. That's all I got. You guys be good, man. NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. If you are interested in learning more about the wide receiver coach that the Saints just signed to be to coach the wide receivers, then go NewOrleans.Football /subscribe. The article went up. Man, I want to say it went up like not too long, 5 hours ago. Okay. Yeah, I've been out. So it went up relatively not too long ago. So check it out. It's coming, food is hot, coming right off the stove, man. That's when it tastes the best. So go read it. And thank you guys for listening. We will see you next week. We out.